But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insult, in hardship, in persecution, in difficulty. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Brothers and sisters, our verses of the day is coming from 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 through 10. Let's dive into it. Have you ever felt like life just keeps hitting you from every direction, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and you start wondering how much more you can take? That's where Paul was when he wrote these words. He had a thorn in his flesh, something painful and persistent that he begged God to take away. But instead of removing it, God responded with something far greater: grace. See, Paul was a man who had seen incredible revelations from God, had traveled the known world preaching the gospel, but despite his faith, he wasn't spared hardship. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul explains that this thorn kept him humble and dependent on God. When God said, "My grace is sufficient for you," he was reminding Paul and us that his strength shines brightest when we reach the end of our own strength. Paul then says something radical: I will boast about my weaknesses. Why? Because our weaknesses become the doorway for Christ's power to rest on us. Instead of hiding his pain, Paul rejoiced in it, because every time he was weak, it made room for Jesus to show up strong. Let's think about Gideon in Judges chapter 6 to 7. God called him to lead Israel's army against the Midianites, but Gideon felt completely unqualified. He said he was the weakest in his family, yet God reduced his army from 32,000 men down to just 300. Why? So that no one could say the victory came by human strength. When Gideon was weak, God's strength was on full display. Family, brothers and sisters, to bring it to a close today, remember that God never promised us a life without weakness, but he did promise that his grace would be enough. Whatever thorn you're carrying today, remember that it's not a sign of a failure, or it's not a sign that you don't have enough strength. It's an opportunity for God to work through you. When you feel like you can't stand anymore, that's often the moment that Christ's power begins to lift us up. So rather than hiding your weakness, bring it into God's light. Because when you are weak, you are never truly powerless. You are held by grace. And remember that this guy loves you, that God loves you way more than this guy loves you, and you matter way more than that. So continue having a blessed day, and Lord willing, we will see each other sooner rather than later. God bless.